name is Roland Fomundam. In November of 2003, I left Cameroon for the United States. And I went for studies. Just 3 years into the US, I was enrolled in the track of pharmacy. And I had 2 more years to graduate. And that is when the thought came on. Am I sure I want to be a pharmacist? And that is a very, very big question. Now I started asking myself all these questions. Very fortunately, I met a mentor. And I asked him this question: should I follow this track of being a pharmacist? And he came back to me with a question. He said, follow what would make you happy. But what is it that would make me happy? What would make you happy would be your legacy. But a legacy must have an impact. Now the question was, where do I want this legacy to be? And what kind of impact do I want? And now the big question again came on. So he called me one day and said, son, listen, in America, the chances of you having that legacy and that impact is 1 in 300 million people. In Cameroon, it is 1 in 26 million people. Where do you think you can have an impact? Of course, I said Cameroon. But you know, Cameroon has a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities. America has a lot of resources, a lot of solutions. So he told me, you're either looking to be in America and be a star employee, or you can go to Cameroon and become an impact developer. But again, the question was, what do I want to do? Do I follow pharmacy? What do I do? And now the question was, he said, listen, follow the path that is least followed. And then I started looking at it. And then I said, agriculture. Agriculture employs many more people. It has a huge impact for development. It has very few actors. Do I want to do agriculture? Imagine me being 2 years to become a doctor of pharmacist, and then telling my single mom that I want to switch from being a pharmacist to being a farmer. They thought I was gone. I mean, how do you leave Cameroon to America and come back to become a farmer? It makes no sense. No sense at all. Now the challenge was for me to see how I can now, first of all, start making them understand that it wasn't about that title. It was about legacy, happiness. 3 years went on, I graduated. But before I graduated, I actually dished out pharmacists. And then I took a track for technology entrepreneurship, because I understood that what Africa needed at the time would be sustainable technologies. And I said, I want to follow a track of sustainable technology. So during my thesis, what did I do? When all my friends were going to create all these amazing technologies, I said to myself, there are already so many technologies in America that have been developed. Many of them are sitting in laboratories. Most of them are not being useful. Why do I want to reinvent the wheel? So what did I do? I collaborated with most of the universities like Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Northeastern, Georgia Tech, even all the way to Holland, Japan. And what did I do? I would visit every university. I would identify technologies that students had developed, and I take those technologies. So I created a course called Dialogue of Innovations. And what it would do was that I would take the technology, take students, and then bring them to Cameroon. And in Cameroon, we partnered with local universities. Like the University of Boya, we had the Christian University in Bali, we had the Catholic University in Bamenda. And what did we do? We would pair them all up, we make them work on developing solutions for that particular technology. And that is how I introduced my first technology in Cameroon, which was a solar dehydrator. So we went on from 2010 to about 2013. We developed solar dehydrators, cook stoves, solar dryers, corn deshellers. But we realized that the villages in which we worked in, that was in my village in Bangui and the neighboring village in Bali, the villagers could not buy my technologies. So we either had to depend on subventions or grants. Are you guys following? Yes. So we either had to we had to depend on those grants, and it is not sustainable. So what did I do? We realized that most of these people, they are villagers, and most of them are farmers. So we needed to create something that would empower them economically. And what was that? Most of them being farmers, then do something that would empower farmers. Now, when I start looking around, I said, but which of these countries in the world have actually attained food sustainability? When you look around, look at Israel. It's a small, tiny country. But they produce more food than 10 African countries combined. Look at China, 1.4 billion people. How do they feed? Look at Mexico. Look at America. And I realized that in any country that has achieved food sustainability, there was a technology called the greenhouse technology at the very core of it. Because with the greenhouse technology, you could produce a whole lot of food on a very small piece of land. You could produce crops year-round. You could produce crops that are organic. And I said, that was it. But then when I started looking at it, I realized that, well, Israel, they're rich. America, China. You look at Kenya, you look at Mali, all these countries. How can we introduce this technology in Cameroon? When we did research, we realized that every country in the world that has a greenhouse technology, it was introduced by the government. I am not the government. I am the private sector. What do I do? That was the challenge. So we said we would do a bottom-up approach. When government introduces these technologies, they do a trickle-down. Means they dump it, everybody takes it. Who wins, who doesn't win? Alas, nobody cares. So we did a bottom-up approach. What did I do? When I left America, I went all the way to my village. And I'm talking the village where we still had the mud houses, no lights, everything. And people thought that this guy, he's running away from something in America. He's probably been repatriated. He's probably hiding. Because how do you leave America? You don't even come to Douala. You don't even come to Bamenda. You are in the village. But that was it, because I understood that for me to understand and create a solution in agriculture, I have to work with the farmers. I have to understand the mentality of the farmers. I have to create solutions that are adapted to those farmers. And that was how we started. In 2013, we had our first greenhouse in bamboo. Amazing. I was like, wow, this was it. Now the interest started coming on. 2014, we did the first one in wood. Now we realized people are not buying it. What did I do? I donated them. I gave them to orphanages. I donated them to the prison yards in Bamenda. We gave them to social groups, to the Muslim communities, every community, because so people can see it. I even donated to the Iraq, to the government institutions. Now people started gaining interest. Oh, this thing can work. It can work. Now the interest is coming on. We started growing tomatoes. Amazingly, I had a buyer from Nigeria who just came and was buying every tomato that I had. Things started going well. We had developed about 100 greenhouses already, all in the Northwest. All of a sudden, the Northwest crisis hit. We went back to zero. We lost everything. Here am I come to Douala, and I'm walking around the supermarkets, checking what is happening. I get into a supermarket, and I see bell peppers, on appelle les poivrons, the colored ones. I see they sell for 14,900 a kilogram. I'm like, this is something that I used to produce with my tomatoes and give them for free as a gesture. Now I see them, they sell at 14,900 a kilogram. And the road par avion, it means it was imported. I said, but these things, I can produce them in my village. How come I am here and I am not seeing this? When I go outside, I remember it was on a Saturday, I saw a little girl, she was giving out flyers. She belonged to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I'm like, why am I in my house and this is somebody selling? So the next day, Sunday, I remember so well, I went and I printed 500 flyers. I came and I stood in front of that same supermarket and I was giving my flyers. Now,
a lady saw me and said, are you sure you can produce these things? I said, yes, ma'am. Are you sure? She said, yes, ma'am. Okay, I would give you an order. I am a secretary of a group, and we all women, we love these bell peppers. How many colors can you produce? I said, all 4 colors, green, red, yellow, and orange. Good. That's how we started getting orders. We started getting orders. All of a sudden, now I realized, the demand is coming up. I went to supermarkets. Supermarkets said, no, we cannot take your bell peppers because Cameroonians, they are not ready to buy locally grown bell peppers. I said, no, we will make it happen. Now I realize that the only challenge I would have is I may not be able to supply as much as it is needed. I came back, I met with the Minister of Commerce, and I said, Papa, listen, I can produce these things, but what I need you to do is that increase the taxes for the imported ones and allow us to produce. He said, are you sure, my son? I said, yes, Papa. We will do it. He said, okay, we'll do that. I met with the Ministry of Finance, through the Minister of Customs. I said, can you give us exonerations on this technology to enable us produce? He said, are you sure? I said, yes, Papa. They gave it. Now what do they do? We now realize that if we have to now continue with the wooden greenhouses, it wouldn't work. Because now wood is different in every part of Cameroon. We have to go to metal. Now we start developing metal greenhouses. By 2019, we came up with the first generation of metal greenhouses. Now we realize, okay, how do we put them in the hands of people? That's when we developed now a franchise model. With a franchise model now, it made it different, everything different. You just needed to bring the land. I had the market. I had students. And all I would do is that I would produce, I buy everything back, and I supply it. 2020, by the time COVID hit, everybody was sitting home. There was the thing where every doctor was prescribing red bell peppers because it was high in vitamin C. Oh, it was a blessing for us. Sorry for those who are affected. It was a blessing. Now the demand for bell peppers went up. We went into production. By 2020, we had developed about 300 greenhouses on the national territory. By 2022, every bell pepper in Cameroon was locally grown. That was a huge success for us. By 2023, we had gone up to about 500 units of production, and the demand was on the rise. Now we had gone from, imagine that bell peppers were sold for 14,900. Now we were selling them for 3,500. Cherry tomatoes were sold for 17,400. Now you sell them for 4,500. Cauliflower, broccoli, mint, spinach, strawberries. I realized that everything that was imported from abroad was grown in greenhouses. I could grow the same things here. But more of what I did was that I made it now everybody could produce, because I said, listen, I cannot do this alone. So I engaged everybody. I mean, most of you here will know it. We gave greenhouses out, even those who were leasing, those who were renting out. We made it in such a way that every region in Cameroon, you could have a greenhouse. Today, we have greenhouses all in 8 regions out of the 10, and we are supplying all major supermarkets. By 2024, what did we do? We gained more markets. We were supplying 4 of the largest supermarkets in Cameroon. We gained exclusivity in most of the supermarkets because what did we do? We offered a model to supermarkets where we were able to buy back their produce. Most supermarkets have a challenge where when you supply them with vegetables, after 3-4 days, when they lose their shelf life, they're done. But we would take them, transform them, repackage, and put back on the shelf. And it was perfect. So all of a sudden now we had all these markets. And then now with more markets coming on, we realized we needed to do something even different. 2025, we acquired about 200 hectares of land for vegetable production. We created a cooperative that has attracted about 240 farmers, about 800 hectares of land, and we are in large-scale vegetable production. We even made it even more easier and fancier, developing now a credit union to make sure that we could follow up with all these cooperative farmers with a way to provide them credit facilities. So everything that you produce, we would buy back. And any excesses, we developed a processing factory where we are able to transform everything, package, and put to market. Today, I am proud to say that we are the largest network of greenhouse farms, very likely in West and Central Africa. We are the only school that trains in greenhouse farming in all of Africa. We are the largest producers of vegetables in Cameroon today. We export, we sell locally, and we sell in the regional countries. Today, We have a transformation factory that is able to transform all vegetables either to powder, to paste, in any form for the various markets that we're having. And that has been how we have been able to delimit all the challenges that we have been able to have to arrive where we are today. So, my dear brothers and sisters, delimit your mind, delimit your potentials, and you would delimit your success. Thank you, and God bless you all.